and welcome to this week's YouTube video. Today I'd like to share with you this video where I really struggled with this painting. I wanted to show you the process from start to finish and explain the issues I had along the way and how I overcame them. The main issue I had with this painting was deciding how to paint the background and integrating the dog into the painting. You'll see as the painting progresses how many times I changed my mind as I felt the colours I'd chosen weren't working for me. In the original reference photo, the dog was stood on autumn leaves in a northern light. The dog was very much disappearing into his background in terms of colour, value and temperature. My idea initially was to change it completely and I opted for the cooler red of alizarin crimson. I went for a cooler red because the light in the photo was a cool northern light. I'll be honest, as soon as I laid this colour I hated it and I knew it was a bad choice. There was a lot of cadmium yellow in the dog's face and body and the two did not work together. My reasoning was to push the red closer to a purple, but I went too warm. For this to have worked, I would needed to have gone for a cooler blue, but I rejected this idea and decided to go for something a bit more neutral. For my second attempt, I covered the background in a muted green. If you ever want to neutralise an oversaturated colour, if you lay the colour opposite over the top of it, it will give you either a neutral brown or a grey, depending upon how much white you add to your mix. I developed the dog a little further because I wanted to be able to judge my background colours more accurately. Often, if you work on an area but neglect part of the painting, when you eventually get to the neglected part of the painting, you'll find that your adjustments will throw it out. It is better to try and work on the painting as a whole because you'll find you'll have to make less adjustments. Also, you'll see your errors more easily. However, I still wasn't sure. Looking back at this photo now, I can see my value on the background was pretty much spot on, but at the time I'd been staring at it for too long and I had lost a bit of objectivity. So I changed it again. I wondered if darkening the value around the eye area would make it more dramatic. My reasoning was this area is light in value. The blue in the nose is very prominent. Your eye is automatically directed to areas where you have high contrast. I thought this would help direct the eye to this area here and then down to the nose and then down to the foot. Brown looks great with blue, so I chose more of a darker brown. Does it look more dramatic? I think so, but I didn't like it. I wasn't sure about it. I felt it was a bit devoid of colour and the overall painting needed more colour in it. So I decided to sort the dog and paint it in with a bit more colour. Let's briefly have a look at my palette and the colours I use for this painting. On my palette I have cadmium yellow light, yellow ochre light, transparent yellow oxide, cadmium red, alizarin crimson, transparent red oxide, terra rosa, transparent brown oxide, ultramarine deep, titanium zinc white and viridian. I've also mixed up a few other colours on my palette, a black red and a black green. When I mix these two together, I get a black, a purple, a red and two oranges and finally a green. As the original reference photo was very autumnal, I decided on using browns and greens. Remember, in nature there is a lot of warmth in leaves and grass. It's never just green. So where I am dealing with foliage, I always add viridian, a muted red like terra rosa or Indian red would do, and a brown like transparent brown oxide or burnt umber will do equally well. When dealing with lovely browns like these, I start with this colour as my base. If I need to darken it but need to keep it warm, I add my transparent brown. If I need to darken it but it needs to be cooler, I can use either of these greens. If I need to lighten it, I have the choice of my yellows, which will keep it warmer. If I need to cool it down, I can use my white. Remember that we are dealing with cool northern light. Cool light equals warm shadows. So for the areas not in the shadows, I can just keep adding white. But for my shadow areas, I will need to make sure there is some warmth in my darks. Notice how dark that rich black is and how it really makes the blue next to it pop. That's because it's loaded with that warm red black, and I've placed warm next to cool. If you are not familiar with using a rich black, I would recommend giving it a try, and there are lots of colour combinations that will give you that black. I just like green and red, but brown and blue works equally well. Getting the contouring on that dog's face was quite hard, and I used a flat synthetic brush to help me follow those contour lines. I really had to think about how that face would be in the 3D to help me lay the strokes in a way that it would suggest form. It took me a few attempts to get it right. Also, my values were quite similar between the eyes and across the muzzle, and I have a colour change. Again, that took me a couple of attempts to get it right. Once I'd painted in the colours of my dog a bit more accurately and added a bit of saturated colour, remember I said I felt at this stage my painting was a bit devoid of colour? Look at how it's thrown my background out. I therefore concluded that either my background needs to be warmer and more saturated, but my dog more muted, or my dog needs to be more saturated and colourful, but my background needs to be more muted. Both doesn't look great. Therefore, I changed the background one last time. I lightened my values and used a very cool green. I'm using browns and greens mixed with a little white. This gave me a lovely cool green. I added a little of this colour here because I needed to break up this block of blue and carry on my warm browns into this area here. Otherwise, I would have had too much of a dog that was too separate from its background. The painting was a bit of a marathon, but I got it to where I wanted it in the end. The most important thing is to think about why you are making the choices you are making. Don't just try things in the hope that it will work, because invariably it doesn't. Decisions based on an understanding of colour, temperature and value have more of a chance of getting your painting to where you want it to be. I hope you've enjoyed today's video and found it useful. Please like and subscribe if you can, and check out my website sarahhallidayart.com, where you will find examples of my work and also details of online classes that I run. Thank you for watching, and see you for the next one.